Hello and welcome to this first edition of the SpartanCast. I'm your host, Christian De Guzman. Thank you so much for joining us on the Syracuse Spartans YouTube channel. If you like what you hear in this podcast, give a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. First of all, we hope that everyone out there who's listening is doing well and is healthy. Hope everyone is okay. Your friends and your family are all okay and healthy in this very tough time with the coronavirus COVID-19 spreading throughout the country. We all wish that everyone out there is safe and healthy. Well, we've got a great episode, 4 guests joining us on the SpartanCast today to talk about a variety of topics. Of course, the main ones being how the coronavirus has affected the NCAA baseball season and the future summer collegiate baseball seasons that may or may not potentially happen. We'll start off this episode with NYCBL Commissioner Joe Brown. Then we'll be joined by 2 Syracuse Spartans. First, the head coach Matt Michalski and former Syracuse Spartan and returning Spartan in Jackson Geisler. And then we'll round it out with the Syracuse Spartan president, J.J. Petrikis. Once again, if you like what you hear in this podcast, give a like to this video and subscribe to the channel to get updates on when the next podcast will come out as well. You can also follow the Spartans on Twitter at NYCBL_Spartans and on Instagram at Syracuse Spartans. But joining me first is the head coach of SUNY Cortland's baseball program and the commissioner of the NYCBL. Joe Brown joins us on the SpartanCast. Coach, thank you for joining us here on the SpartanCast. First question, how are you? Are you okay? Are your families okay? Are your friends okay? Is everyone in good health around you?
Everybody is well. Thank you for asking. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. We're so glad to have you on. Of course, Coach Joe Brown, head coach of SUNY Cortland's baseball team and the commissioner of the NYCBL, joining us here on the SpartanCast. I want to get your first reaction when you first found out that the season would be suspended by the NCAA and that you were no longer able to play baseball for the rest of this season. What was your first reactions to that news?
Christian, it was probably a 24 to 48 hour period where all the little signs started to show in reference to Division I conference basketball tournaments, the NBA situation, SUNY administration, which is also then led by obviously the governor of New York, and then the chancellor of the school, so of the SUNY system. So as information started coming, I can tell you in the course of one work day, details changed about 6 to 8 times. Everything from eliminating the spring trip to ensure safety of student athletes, to then playing home games with no fans, and then transitioning to a suspension of games for 1 week, and then suspension of games for 2 weeks, and then naturally the big hammer came with suspension of all spring sports championships. So I didn't share each step with all the players. We just kept practicing, and kids are at the end of their, the first semester here, so or at midpoint, so midterms were coming up. It was more so when we got, we were going at business as usual. So I think that was a common term used by a lot of people until each decision came, and then we would just modify and adjust, and it's outside of your control. So you just did the best you can, and when the big hammer came, we had meetings on a Friday and a Saturday, and off our kids went.
And what was that first initial meeting with your players like? What was their response to the news?
Finished up, yeah, that's a good question. We finished up practice, and the actual announcement from the NCAA came probably with about 15 minutes left of our practice on Friday. And so we kind of brought all the guys in and said, I'm not sure what to tell you. I was very, pretty much open and said, here's what has come down. Here are the implications of it. I'm sure there'll be something coming out the next 2 to 3 days in regards to eligibility, which the NCAA did, which was great. Because I think that kind of took care of a little bit of the emotional aspect of it. I think naturally, if you tell any athlete, doesn't matter if it's us or baseball or any sport, or for that matter, the winter sports athletes, they want to compete. This isn't true. What's going on? But the realization is, I think ultimately this is no question was the right decision at the time. So there was no questioning the decision. I think it's now how do we handle it the next couple of days, and I think our guys did a great job. I think the school did a super job, and it was the unknown, Christian. I even to this day, none of us know much about what might happen next. So.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned those seniors, how important it was for them to get an extra year of eligibility. What were those first couple of days like with those seniors? They didn't know exactly if they were going to be able to come back for another season.
I felt pretty confident, so I put myself out there on the limb a little bit and said I thought this would occur. So I shared with it, and it comes down to each senior across all sports, across all schools. Is graduate school an option? Is a fifth year even an option? Some kids might be graduating, have a job, so now in reality that was their last game. When we played 2 weekends ago. So for some, it's the end. It depending on the institution. If they're at a costly institution, then going back for fifth year might not be an option. We're at a SUNY school, so we had meetings Friday and Saturday all day. And every single player came through. Even parents that had come to pick up kids had come through. So by the end of Saturday, and then we and Sunday I think it was Sunday or maybe Monday when we got the definitive. Everybody had kind of taken a deep breath, and in some regards, Christian, you might have got a reset.
Yeah, definitely. It must have been a stressful couple of days for your players, but finally, what have been some of the when the seniors finally got the news that say, yeah, okay, it's confirmed that the NCAA is going to give you extra year of eligibility if you guys want it or need it. What were some of your reactions to some of your players that said, yes, we actually have a second chance?
Well, I think the first step is okay, and what a lot of people, and I know you obviously understand this, is we still have a half academic semester left. Let's not forget that our classes are suspended until March 30th, at which time they'll be going online. But so they have a week or 2 weeks off. This past week, spring break, and then next week. But let's not forget that you have work to do, and this is school's not over. So that was the first priority that we sat down and told every player, we're going to be communicating with you daily, every other day. You have to stay up on this. Some kids are great with online classes, others are clueless. So that's number one. Then number two was, what is their avenue going to be? Are they going to extend their stay here? Are they going to go to graduate school? If they are going to go to graduate school, then they need to begin the graduate school application, which would also require probably taking the GREs. So in this time where it's a little bit down, maybe they go take their GREs. So all of that's in place. It's done. We know who will come back, and we know who won't come back. And so in that regard, everyone's on a little bit of a break, I suppose.
And definitely, what has been some of the reaction from your younger players who are necessarily maybe some of your freshmen or some of the players who are new to your program who might have only gone on a couple of weeks with Portland in terms of actual game time? What has been the reaction to them?
I see that's one thing I think a lot of people are overlooking. Naturally, all these seniors are getting a year back if they choose, but all the other players didn't use a year either, which means that a freshman will be a freshman again. A junior will be a junior again. So it could have an impact on them academically. Maybe they slow it down a little bit. Maybe they don't take such an intense. Maybe now it might save them money where they might have been taking a winter session class or summer session class. Maybe they don't do that, because they have to pay out. So it has implications for everybody that was in the program. Everybody just looks at seniors and saying, oh, this is sad for them. It has implications at every class level. And I think some it will assist because some kids are really putting their nose to the grindstone and try to graduate 4 years, and that's challenging. And sometimes it requires winter session classes and summer session, which you don't get financial aid for. So that's a big impact for the family. Maybe it can be done during a full-time semester where you can get some financial aid. And in that regard, it ends up maybe being a positive. But again, all that work has been done. Everybody's pretty clear on their status. And like I said, for the younger kids, we were able to go to a trip in the Dominican Republic, which was 4 contests. We had 10 practices, then we played 11 games. So in essence, they had 15 games of scrimmaging per se and about 40 practices. So you come back hopefully having learned a lot.
Definitely. What also has been, I'm not sure if you've been in contact with other coaches and other programs. What has their been reaction like to this situation? What has their reaction been to handling talking with players as well?
I think it varied at many different institutions. Again, some might be at institutions where it's costly for a kid to go back and they truly lost their seniors. Others, mostly it's been just text messaging. I haven't spoken on the phone with many because I've been very busy with my program and also the NYCBL, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second, because there's some big things happening in regards to that and preparation. So I would say probably between 10 and 12 college coaches between Division 1, 2, and 3 I've had communication with, and similar to us, they're all trying to figure it out. Division 1s have a uniquely different situation because, say you have 7 seniors that are outgoing and they have X amount of scholarship money, and you have 6 freshmen coming in that money was going to be allocated towards them. Well, now you have a unique situation because those 7 seniors might want to stay. And so the NCAA is working on it right now. I'm not sure if they've made a statement yet in regards to honoring those incoming, maybe allowing the scholarship money to be high for 1 year, but it would be up to the institution to pick up that cost. So that's to be determined, but I'm sure they'll be doing something. But that poses a tremendous challenge for a Division I coach.
Yeah, and then like you said, also with some of these incoming freshmen, it must even impact future classes as well in terms of like recruiting. How has your recruiting been affected by
That's a great question because now we still had X amount of kids coming in. Now some of our seniors are moving on and because they have jobs, so that's 6 or 7 spots, but we had a bigger class coming in because we had a decent amount of seniors. Now at the same time, some of them, at first when this happened, Christian, you say, oh, let's go out and watch high school games. We get to watch our kids now, and they're in the senior year. Well, of course, naturally, high schools are suspended for a while, so we can't do that. They might not play much. So their development as a player, maybe they're going to need that freshman year, but if they're a good player, they'll be able to fit in. So it poses challenges, but nothing that people can't handle. This is the larger scheme is the health and welfare of everybody, quite frankly. We are talking about a game.
Coach Joe Brown joining us on the SpartanCast. Of course, he's not just the coach of SUNY Cortland's baseball program, but also the commissioner of the NYCBL. And I'd like, if we can, to shift gears to that topic of you being the commissioner of the NYCBL. The league did announce earlier this weekend that said that the tentative plan is still to get games underway in the first week of June. Was that a decision that was taken lightly, or how much the talk was made with many of the league officials about whether to still set the start date?
Yeah, we began a little over almost 2 weeks ago. We had a executive committee conference call to discuss. Our league president, Bill McConnell, had reached out to every organization to see if they were having any challenges to date with anything, host families, facilities, if anything had been determined. Then, a few days after our executive conference call, we held a league-wide conference call with all 12 franchises and all the league members, and everybody voiced their concerns about their individual franchises, whether it be housing or their sponsorships, and that was good to hear. We agreed that we would be doing another executive conference call once a week to check up on any updates. And then on the 30th, I believe it's going to be, or the 29th, we'll be having another league-wide conference call. In addition to that, being a commissioner, and we're a member of the Alliance, the NASCB, there will be a national conference call fairly soon with all Alliance leagues to discuss some of this and to be united in any of our responses. And in addition to that, I'm sure that Major League Baseball liaison will be a part of that call because they too have sent out some emails to the commissioners of the summer leagues. The hope by everybody is that summer leagues might be the avenue for kids to play. That's the hope. All of this, as you know, could be taken out of all of our hands by a number of things. Number one, states that teams are in might have established certain regulations like we have now with restaurants being closed and bars being closed, and travel is being limited here and there. You have the New England Collegiate League, which has teams in 5 different states. So all of this might be out of our hands as a league. So say hypothetically we want to continue as a league in New York. However, the governor has no gatherings more than 50, if that remains. Then naturally that probably couldn't happen to have a league. You'd probably not be smart to do that. If Major League Baseball hasn't begun yet, should Summer League start before Major League Baseball? Obviously we're in uncharted waters, but it is being monitored. As I said, executive conference call already, league call with all franchises. And in this 2-week period before our next league conference call, everyone's supposed to be checking back with their housing, their host families, in regards to any red flags we need to know about.
What are some of those biggest red flags that some of the organizations have come forward to say, if we don't get this X and Y done, then we won't be able to go forward with playing this summer?
Well, with many, it's how to house your students or your athletes to come in. Some are on college campuses. Well, if college campuses aren't letting people on their campus, then you don't have housing. You have both Syracuse teams with Onondaga Community College. You have St. Bonaventure, Niagara University, Mansfield University, and then you have some host families, and then Houghton College. So, you have Houghton has host families. Host families in some franchises have already started to ask the question. So you know that there's some concern there. 2 college presidents have given a heads up to a couple franchises. So, again, we're monitoring that. That's the best word I suppose we can say. And all of this could be taken out of our hands by any local, state, or federal laws that we would have to be bound by.
And what were some of your first words to the league owners and the league coaches in those initial conference calls about how the league plans to handle the coronavirus situation?
Well, we were upfront. We put some stuff out there in our social media and the website just to let everybody know, let's just take a breath. I'll be honest with you, Christian, I'm not watching the news at all. I have no desire to. I'm just going to try to do things that are positive. Today I spent 6 hours out at a hunting cabin I had purchased just to get my mind off things, because you're going to sit there and, wonder anything from, did I contract it, to every day it's like, we're in a state of instant information. We need to know right now. Well, we're not going to know right now. It's going to take time. We understand that. Well, everyone just take a pause. It's not a bad thing. I told my players, this isn't a bad thing that you can't run off to a gym or that you can run off to a restaurant. This might engage yourself with things other than sport, which I often do. I don't often just watch sports. I engage myself in the History Channel. Maybe even have a conversation, Christian, with someone rather than be on their phone. Or so, like, where it might have, for Cortland baseball, a reset and a new season, it could be a reset for humans, people. Let's take a look at things and take a breath. So, not panic. It's easy for me to say because I'm not running a franchise, but ultimately that will be dictated to us. I don't think it will be the NYCBL making the decision.
And you said, like you just said, NYCBL probably won't make the decision. So who would you be looking for in order to make a decision about whether the league will actually go forward on June 1st? Would it be the governments first? Would it be the schools? Who ultimately makes that decision for you?
It depends on the all of the above. It'll be any local or state laws. We're fortunate, other than we have one team in Pennsylvania. All of our teams were within New York State. So whatever has been determined by the governor and the state of New York, we can't counter that. So if certain things are still in place by X date, now we don't want to put a date on it and set it, because we have discussed modification of the schedule, slightly start or later start, but we're reviewing those options now. We're taking a look at the schedule. One option is maybe you eliminate the outer conference play, so you cut any monies that people might have lost in sponsorships or whatever. We assist in eliminating going in the further distance and cut down on those bus trips. So we're looking at some creative things. The intent is to play. We're not trying to build evidence not to play. We're trying to think of everything how to play. And then once you got that, you say, okay, what is the local, state, and federal government restrictions on us right now? underneath all of that layer, you're going to get what's the president of Mansfield University say about using their dorms, St. Bonaventure using their dorms, because some franchises have indicated if they don't have their current housing option, they can't hold the team.
Would it be possible? I know this would be very, very hard, but would it be possible if, say, a team or teams can't go forward with housing players or fielding a team, that you could enter the season and start a season with not all 12 teams that you expect to start the season with, or was that not an option at all?
That's an option. We would not, hypothetically, say if two teams are not in the position to do it yet, everything else, the hypotheticals, which we hate to deal with, right? So say everything is going better in the country and the state and local and federal laws are to the point where we're allowed to function, but yet two teams have decided to back away, we would still run our league with, say, 10 or 8. Yes, we would modify it, and that's what honestly we're working at. Myself and Fran are looking at some options for a modified schedule. But I don't want to put all that work in right now. We'll have a kind of a skeleton concept, but again, I think we'll have a real good idea in 2 to 4 weeks.
All right, just a couple more questions for you. Again, Coach Joe Brown of SUNY Cortland's baseball team joining us on the SpartanCast. Just a couple more questions for you, Coach. Obviously, some of your players are playing here in the MRCBL and then going to other collegiate leagues as well. What is your message meant to them about potentially maybe playing baseball this summer in some of these leagues?
Yeah, actually, I don't have any current players in the NYCBL. I'm not allowed to. We are asking for a waiver for that, because we do have kids traveling out of state in some other leagues, and their parents have. So that there's a special request. We're going to submit a waiver here soon. But because I'm a commissioner of the league, players can't play in this league, which is a silly rule, but it's true. But kids going out right now, again, Christian, I think there's 2 points that our kids have to do. They're not playing baseball for the next month and a half, 2 months. So we actually sent out, or players took home with them, our workout program again. We said, let's go hammer this for 8 more weeks. We just did a ton of travel. We played 15 games with the Dominican trip. We've been all over. Let's get your strength back. Let's go 8 weeks of weight training. Pitchers, you're going to throw 3 times a week. So we set some standards. But again, the most important thing a lot of these kids across the country have to do is they have to finish school. And they have, half of their semester left. So that should be the focus. That and maybe getting workouts in now. It's been challenging because a lot of gymnasiums have been closed. But you can do a lot of stuff without a gym. So.
Yeah, definitely. And one final question for you, Coach. It's a little bit of a loaded question, but how confident are you that the NYCBL can go forward and say June 1st is the day that baseball will resume?
Let's see. I would probably answer like Rob Manfred, Silver, and the commissioner of the NHL. I don't know, and I couldn't put a percentage on how. I'm confident in this. I'm confident in our league structure. I'm confident in our franchises that they will be flexible and do the best they can to offer people an opportunity if we're legally allowed to do it. We will not just cancel immediately, and there's no need to per se, because no one is coming to your facilities until the 3rd week in May. So we legitimately have 2 months to consider this. So.
All right. Well,
but we have good structure in the league right now. We have good working relationships with all the GMs. I think part of that is because we did have those 2 conference calls recently, and we've set the tone.
All right. Well, of course, we're all hoping that we do get to see baseball resume in very early June. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Before we continue, we'd like to tell you that this week's SpartanCast is brought to you by Iota, coming soon to an iPhone and iPad near you. With its revolutionary new gameplay, Iota will keep you entertained with over 5 hours of challenging and addicting action. Try the self-proclaimed hardest game on iOS for yourself. Be one of the first people to try this game for free. Email iotathegame@gmail.com or comment on this video to request your free copy today. That's iotathegame@gmail.com. Limited free copies available. Offer expires Monday, March 23rd. Once again, a very big thank you to SUNY Cortland baseball head coach and NYCBL Commissioner Joe Brown for joining me on this week's edition of the SpartanCast. Next up, another man who with very interesting insight on the COVID-19 situation, not only as a Cortland baseball assistant coach, but also as the head coach of the Syracuse Spartans in the NYCBL. It's Syracuse Spartans head coach Matt Michalski who joins me next on this week's edition of the SpartanCast. All right, so first of all, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are your friends and family okay? Is everyone okay? We're given this whole crazy situation. Everyone in good health?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Christian, first of all. And as far as I know, everyone in my family is definitely healthy. It's a very unique situation what's going on. And like I said, as far as I know, everyone is healthy. But with the little period where you don't know if you have it, it's just a very unique situation overall. So everyone that I know is healthy as of now. So hopefully it stays that way as long as possible.
Oh, that's very good to hear. And you, of course, are a assistant coach on the Cortland baseball program, and it must have been a very interesting time and a very weird time to be around that program, with all the cancellations that have been happening. When did the team first find out that the season was going to be suspended for a very long period of time?
Yeah, it was kind of funny actually, just because the whole day was just so chaotic, where we were getting updates pretty much every hour on the hour. There was something new coming out, and I think I think the NBA was the first, uh, you know, organization that canceled or suspended their season. So after that, it was kind of all downhill from there. Everyone started to do it. NHL started did it, and then from there, it was kind of like if you know everyone kind of started to follow the trend. So every hour there were more updates, and we were actually at a practice, which was a very productive practice. We were having a great time out there, and then um, people were checking Twitter throughout the practice and stuff, and we were getting updates just because how chaotic the time was and how chaotic the day was. So we ended up finding out at one of our practices, and after the practice, coach sat everyone down and pretty much explained the situation and how NCAA is cutting the championships for all spring sports, and all winter sports were then canceled, and it was kind of a world of emotions with guys, because some guys were excited that they got another year, and then some guys were really bummed out, and it was pretty emotional overall, just because some guys knew that they weren't ever going to play again, while on the other hand we had some guys who were looking to come back for a fifth year, maybe finish their degree program, and this kind of gave them another opportunity to be able to come back and play during their last year. So it was, like I said, it was a very unique situation overall, and we're kind of just going with the flow here. We don't really know what's going on or what's going to happen, but we just got to kind of weather the storm for as long as we can, and wait for the smoke to clear.
What was the first messages that Coach Brown said to the team? Obviously, in a very, very tough situation like this, obviously, like you said, hearts out to the seniors who might not get a chance to play again, to some of the young kids who might be looking to prove themselves on the team as well. It must have been a very, very tough situation for them.
Yeah, and it definitely was, and it was something that Coach Brown was with his experience, coaching for so many years, he was definitely able to give it to the guys, as best as you could break any news like that. So he kind of just broke it to them, and kind of explained the whole situation of what the messages and stuff that he was getting throughout the practice, because obviously the players aren't on their phones or anything, so it was they really had no idea of the updates that we were getting. So he broke it down for him, and kind of broke the news for him there, and then he pretty much just went into how unique of a situation it was in terms of if you wanted to come back, the different options you have. If you're finished with your undergraduate degree, then you could come back and maybe start a master's program, or if you're looking, if you were going to finish in the fall, then you could take the fall off and come back in the spring. So he was kind of just giving all the guys different options they have, just to kind of give them all the information so they could kind of soak everything in and have the necessary conversations with parents, and then they could kind of go from there. So after that initial sit down at the conclusion of practice, then he informed the guys that way, and then within the next couple of days, guys were coming into his office, and they were having conversations and kind of mapping out a plan in terms of if they were coming back, or if that was it for them. Then it was obviously much more difficult conversation, but it definitely comes with the job. But in all my years and all of his years, we've never seen something to this degree. So it's just, like I keep saying, it's just a super super unique situation that it's very unfortunate for some guys who are affected by this in terms of not being able to play the game they love.
Yeah, especially all the seniors that you probably have on your roster. I'm assuming that many of them would look to add another year of eligibility. I'm pretty sure that all divisions of the NCAA have allowed a waiver to have the seniors get an extra year of eligibility. Am I mistaken in saying that?
Nope, that is correct.
So, are all your seniors looking to take that extra year, or what's the process in making sure that they can stay with the program if they choose to do so?
Yep. So the initial conversations went better than expected. Obviously, we knew some guys are going to be finishing their undergraduate degree and walking into a job, and that's that is unbelievable for them, and we're obviously very happy, but we're obviously going to miss them next year. So there was a handful of guys who are in that situation. Some guys just weren't really sure yet. They were going to check with parents and have those conversations, and it's not a quick conversation. So I'm sure within the next few weeks, guys will kind of start coming back and giving us definite answers, and once they have time to reflect on everything in the whole situation. So in terms of everyone else, I think there are a handful of guys. We're in a cool situation being at Cortland, where we're competing for a national championship every single year. So for these guys to come back, and if they're starting their master's degree or they're taking the fall off and kind of prologuing their college experience a little bit, then so be it. Just because we know where we're going to be in May, and some other schools are in a much difficult situation because they don't know if they're going to make their conference tournament, let alone the regionals or even the College World Series. So with us being at Cortland, it puts us in a another unique situation, just because some guys just they want to fight one last time for that national championship, and they want to get a ring, and they want to finish their baseball careers the right way. And for a lot of them, they weren't given the opportunity to, just because they're finishing with their schooling. So I think they're trying to do it. They're trying to put everything together and have a great season next year, and hopefully go out on top.
Yeah, obviously our hearts go out to all those seniors. Hopefully all those waivers get accepted and everything. But you're not just obviously one of Cortland's assistant coaches. You're also the head coach of the Syracuse Spartans here in the NYCBL. And I want to kind of shift gears towards your role in that position now. Obviously, the NYCBL has come out and said it still plans to play in the summer. Obviously, it's a very fluid situation. We don't know if that's going to hold in 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, how long. But what are some of the initial conversations with the players on your roster that have already been signed? What have your initial conversations been with those guys?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of giving them updates as soon as I get them. Like NYCBL, they had a conference call on Sunday, so I kind of got the gist of that, and kind of got the path that they were going to take. So after that initial conversation with the NYCBL, I was kind of able to inform my guys of the situation and how they're going to come back in a couple weeks and kind of reassess the situation. So that's kind of all I could give them right now. I know pretty much as much as them, just because we don't know just how bad this is going to get, if it's going to get worse or if it's going to get better, or if it's going to stay the same. And it's just a wild situation overall, and I'm just trying to update my guys as best as I can, and telling them that the season is still on, and I'm giving them throwing programs and stuff, just because of the situation. They're not going to be playing baseball or organized baseball for quite some time here, so giving them certain programs to follow will help them in their transition. So right when they arrive on Onondaga campus at the end of May, then they're ready to rock, and they're ready to kind of turn into it. They're ready to rock right when they step foot on the campus. So that's pretty much the only conversations I could have with them right now. But as I get updates, I'm trying to update them as quickly as possible, just so they don't have any question marks or anything like that. So,
what's the general feeling that you're getting from these players? Are they excited to maybe get to Syracuse if they get the chance? Are they anxious about other things? What's the general feeling are you getting from your players right now about this whole situation?
yeah. So our guys they're obviously ready to rock. So with this situation, not being able to play, it's very tough for them just because they're not being able to play baseball right now. So I definitely think, and I think the group consensus with the whole team right now is that they're itching to get back and face some competition. So I think that they're kind of transitioning into the summer now, where they're focusing on the summer baseball, just because that's where their competition is right now, and that's where they're looking to get better and show up to campus in the fall, a better person and a better player. So overall, I think they're very, very excited to get going here in end of May.
Now, I'm curious have you talked to any other NYCBL coaches about how they're handling talking to their rosters and talking, with other like parents even? Like, have you talked with other coaches about how they're handling this situation as well?
I've talked to a couple coaches. Bill McConnell is one of them, and he kind of reached out to all his guys and pretty much did what I did, and just telling them that he's going to inform them guys as soon as he knows, and that as far as we're concerned, we are ready to go, and right when June 1st hits with the first day of games. So that's like I said, it's as much info as we could get them. It's not a lot, but it's just kind of a reaffirmment that we are still on, and we're excited for these guys to show up.
Definitely. And I know this next question might be a little bit of a loaded question, but do you think we'll actually see NYCBL baseball get started in the beginning of June?
It is a very loaded question, Christian. But I think I hope so. The only thing I could do is hope right now, and I'm hearing stories that it's going to get worse before it gets better, and we're just trying to weather the storm as much as we can. So just think about the past week of how much craziness we've endured, and think about a few months down the road, who knows what could happen. So my hopes are high for this because as I said, guys are really excited to get going this summer, which is pretty unique. Coming from past summers where guys are showing up after they play the season and they're pretty much hopping right into summer baseball. So guys are ready to go, and all I could do is hope, and all we could do is be prepared for them to show up and hopefully have a great summer season.
And just a couple more questions for your coach, wrapping things up. First of all, I mentioned it earlier about maybe talking to parents also, because they're going to be very concerned about potentially sending some of their kids up to Syracuse for a summer, especially with the whole virus. We're not sure, like you said, if it's going to get worse before it's going to get better. Have you had some conversations with them about sending their child up to Syracuse for 2 months?
I actually have not had any conversations with parents in particular. I'm kind of reaching out to the players because I like to handle things with the players. They're at the age where they should be able to handle and have the conversations with their parents, and it should be easy right now because everyone's home right now anyways. So
Yeah.
they're I assume and I hope that they're translating it to their parents and keeping them informed. And like I said, it's a unique situation because most of these teams are playing on campuses or living. There's a handful of teams who are going to be living in college dorms. So that's another unique situation in terms of if these colleges are going to allow players to stay in the dorms throughout the summer, or if we're going to have to find host families. It's I wish I could give you more information. I wish I had more information to give, but it's just it's wild times right now, and something that none of us have ever encountered or experienced. So it's just we're just kind of trying to do our best, and like I said, just the only thing we could do is just try to get prepared for June 1st.
Yeah, and one final question. We're all obviously crossing our fingers, and hopefully that June 1st we'll get to see some baseball. But if we do get to that point and you have your full roster at OCC ready for a pre-practice or your first game before the season starts, what's going to be your message to these players in the wake of the whole coronavirus situation here?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the initial message I'm going to be sending is, we are ready to rock. I expected that you guys did, your preparation prior to coming to this, prior to arriving, and that's all I could give right now. Is just I hope that, and I trust that they're getting their work in, their preparation, and they're not going to show up out of shape or physical shape or mental shape. And with the pitchers, I expect that they're ready to throw at least 50 plus pitches in their first outing, and that's kind of the program that we're following. So that by the end of May, that they're in the shape that they could go out and throw a few innings, just as if they just finished their college season. So the initial message is going to be that, and it's going to be honest with them, and we're planning to win again this summer, and coming off of a decent summer last year where we made the playoffs and kind of had a tough first playoff game. We're definitely biting at the bit here to get back out there and prove ourselves to the league and to the other coaches, and we are just the coaching staff, we're just ready to rock, and the players, I think they're going to follow. So we're real excited.
All right, business as usual, I guess, for this summer.
Absolutely, Christian.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Christian. God bless.
Before we continue, we'd like to tell you that this week's SpartanCast is brought to you by Iota, coming soon to an iPhone and iPad near you. With its revolutionary new gameplay, Iota will keep you entertained with over 5 hours of challenging and addicting action. Try the self-proclaimed hardest game on iOS for yourself. Be one of the first people to try this game for free. Email iotathegame@gmail.com or comment on this video to request your free copy today. That's iotathegame@gmail.com. Limited free copies available. Offer expires Monday, March 23rd. And once again, a very big thank you to Matt Michalski for joining us on the SpartanCast. Well, we've heard from two coaches on how they've reacted to the COVID-19 situation. Now, let's get insight from how a player has reacted to the COVID-19 situation. Joining us next is a redshirt junior from Union College in Kentucky. He played for the Syracuse Spartans last year and will return to their roster this year as well. Outfielder Jackson Geisler now joins us on the SpartanCast. Jackson, welcome. First of all, how are you? Are you okay? Are your family and friends okay? Is everyone doing well and healthy?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm down here in Barberville, Kentucky, right down by the Tennessee border, down here at Union College, and everything's going all right. But like everybody's experiencing, it's certainly a shock to our lives right now.
Definitely. When did you first find out that the season that you were going to have in the NAIA was going to be postponed and then canceled?
Well, we were down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee last week. We were playing at the Tennessee Smokies, the AA Cubs. So we were down there. We were staying in a nice cabin that we have a connection with. And we, obviously we have Twitter and we have Instagram, and we started seeing that the virus was gaining more steam, and then we had one more game, so we drove up to around Knoxville area, played, and then after the game our coach told us that in the middle of the game they had called and that they'd be more than likely suspending our season for the whole time.
And when was this?
This was Wednesday afternoon. However, the official NAIA announcement didn't come out till the following Monday at noon.
So you guys actually found out a lot earlier before an official announcement came out. So how did that initial feeling feel that the season might get suspended a little too early before any official announcement actually came?
Oh, it was it really came as no surprise, because at that point, I believe Harvard and the Ivy Leagues had been done for a few days, and the SEC had suspended play, and a multitude of other conferences had done the same, and the MLB was on the verge of doing so. And so it came as no surprise, but what we were hoping was it would be a 2-week hiatus, and we'd get back to playing and trying to get to Idaho, and get to the NAIA World Series again.
And obviously, you haven't been with this program for a very long time, but you've obviously gotten to know your teammates pretty well, and I'm pretty sure some of the seniors on your team are probably taking this very hard. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any NAIA waivers yet about senior eligibility. Would they be giving spring seniors eligibility back?
Yeah, luckily they are giving eligibility back to every single full-time student athlete who
Oh,
is
so
a
not
yeah.
just seniors. No, that's very good to hear. But
No, it's fantastic.
yeah, but initially when the season got suspended, how did uh, these seniors feel? And well, not your whole team, but especially your seniors.
Well, I was lucky enough to move in when I moved in down here in the spring. My roommate is a senior from Los Angeles. He's our starting catcher, and we all took it pretty hard. We were a tight group, and we were really, really starting to catch our stride. I think we were 10-1 over our last 11, and we were, in the first place of the conference that has Tennessee Wesleyan, who was the national champion last year. And so we were really in our right, catching our wind at the right time, and everybody took it really hard, especially when the NCAA hadn't announced anything, NAI hadn't announced anything. So a lot of the guys thought that their careers were over, which is something that you don't wish upon anybody, but especially in a situation like that, it was going to make it 10 times harder to comprehend that you never get to lace them up again.
And obviously for you, that must have been a very tough situation, considering again this was your first year with Union College. And for those who don't know, after the suspension of the athletics program at CCU, your previous college, it must have been uh, tough to know, especially since you were having such a good start to the season, batting over 300 with Union. How did you personally take it, knowing that that was the start of a good season in a new school getting cut short?
Yeah, well, Cincinnati Christian kind of, cut our legs out from under us. Everybody who was a athlete up there unexpectedly had their school, their scholarships, their livelihoods taken away from them, and it was tough. It really was. But and you were angry, and you lost friends, and now I have friends that are all spread out all over the country that were my best friends, but we were able to, at least I personally was able to gain a sense of gratitude for the game that I feel that you can't get unless something like this happens. Because now I was very lucky after Cincinnati Christian closed to receive, 25 plus scholarship offers from, multiple divisions all over the country. And, and I chose Union for a multitude of reasons, and, got off to a great start down here and was having a lot of fun. But the gratitude I gained for being able to play a game like this is, incomprehensible. I feel lucky every day I get to go out there, and when it was taken away, it really sucked. But at the same time, the attitude I have is that, everything can get taken away from you at any time. And as this virus has shown, your life can get taken away from you at any time. And so you just have to embrace every day and just have fun every day. And if you don't have fun every day, then, there's a lot of guys just going through the motions. And I think this virus and the suspension of the seasons is going to change a lot of people.
What was what was the coaching staff's first initial message to the team after all the suspensions of the season were first announced?
Well, they were hopeful that we'd be able to keep playing for 2 weeks, because a couple weeks, 6-7 days ago now, it was believed that it would only be a short-term issue and that it may possibly be resolved in a week or two. And after that, we were hopeful to be able to just miss 10 or so games and get right back on track. And that's why I'm still down here, honestly, because I live in Pittsburgh, and I was down here because we were under the belief that it would just be a 2-week suspension of the season and we'd get right back after it at the beginning of April. But that was their initial message, and since they've been great. They've handled it about as well as anybody can.
Do you have any plans to come back to Pittsburgh anytime soon, or are you staying in Kentucky?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave in the morning, and I'm gonna head back to Pittsburgh, and I'm gonna join my family back up there.
Okay.
And we're going to, we're just going to, take it one day at a time.
Have you had any other contact with your former Spartan teammates from last year, and your former teammates at CCU? Like, how have they been taking it also? Because it's such a unique situation that's affecting everyone around the country.
Yeah, a lot of guys, I think, at first were just, stunned, and then it kind of turned into, hey, most of us haven't had spring break since we were in 6th grade, so hopefully this is just a 2-week spring break and we can get back to playing ball. And now that it's done for good, there's a lot of shock for a lot of guys, and I think a lot of guys are gaining just a gratitude for being able to play baseball, because not a lot of people have faced a whole lot of adversity, and I feel as though in my career I certainly have, especially collegiately, and I feel like they're gaining quite the perspective on the game, and I think it'll only help them in the long run.
All right. Before we continue, I just want to ask really quickly: are you coming back to the Spartans next year?
Yeah, I've signed to come back, and I really hope that the NYCBL and summer ball is still going to be able to go on.
Yeah. So obviously, NYCBL has tentatively stated that, and that the season will go on as planned on June 1st. So if that still does happen, what do you plan to do in the next coming weeks, coming months to help you stay prepared for the season after a couple of months of not playing baseball on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. It's going to be a real hard adjustment. But my father is a high school teacher, and so he's probably done for the rest of the year. So we have a great high school facility that they built for us down here in Pittsburgh, and my brother plays NAI baseball as well at Thomas More University in Crestview Hills, Kentucky. So I'm sure we'll be having our own spring training every day essentially out there, and we'll missing the live pitching is going to be hard, but we're going to get as prepared as possible to just keep playing for as long as we can.
What if anything has Coach Michalski told you about the upcoming season in Syracuse, about the plans, how they're handling the whole situation?
Well, what I've heard from Coach Ski is that hopefully in the next couple months everything will be resolved, and it'll be just like last year. We'll get up a couple days early and we'll have our first joint practices together, and that'll be huge if we're able to do that, because that'll get a lot of us back on the field and seeing live pitching and competing again. And if that's able to happen, I think that'd be enormous for all of us.
How different would this season feel knowing that pretty much everyone hasn't played baseball in over 2 months, and that it's definitely not everyone's going to be as prepared. Everyone's going to be fresh as well, with no necessary wear from a long college baseball season. How is this season going to feel differently than last season?
It's definitely going to be different, because last year when I was at Cincinnati Christian, I started all 52 games and I played every inning of all 52 games, and I think I got hit by 18 pitches or something like that. So yeah, I was definitely coming up to Syracuse and I felt ready and felt good to go, but you're definitely dragging a little bit. And this year it's going to be wildly different. Your body's going to be ready. Your mind hopefully will be, in the right spot, and we'll just be back up competing again. It'll just be, a 2-month hiatus, hopefully, of kind of a northern college type deal where we're just, doing what we can with what we have, and then try to roll the balls out June 1st and see what happens.
You excited to come back?
Oh, I'm super excited to come back. The experience I had up in Syracuse was, second to none. There's no place else I'd rather be this summer.
Definitely. And just one final question. It's certainly been an interesting situation that we've all been around. And given your entire year, what have you done just by yourself to stay mentally calm? Because especially given your situation, it must be trying to know you're playing baseball, then not knowing and you're playing baseball, then knowing that you're going to play baseball again, then not knowing you're going to play baseball again. How do you stay, mentally straight that, everything's going to be all right in the end?
It's certainly taken its toll and it's been tough, but fortunately for me, my father played Division I baseball. My uncle coached 20 years of Division I baseball. My cousin played big league baseball for 6 years, and so I just feel as though I have a great support system around me that's shown me that no matter what happens, if you just keep putting in the work every day and you just keep controlling what you can control, the end result's going to be what it may, but you only can control yourself and what you do. And as long as you take full advantage of that, then, there's no saying what you can do.
All right. Well, Jackson, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Before we continue, we'd like to tell you that this week's SpartanCast is brought to you by Iota, coming soon to an iPhone and iPad near you. With its revolutionary new gameplay, Iota will keep you entertained with over 5 hours of challenging and addicting action. Try the self-proclaimed hardest game on iOS for yourself. Be one of the first people to try this game for free. Email iotathegame@gmail.com or comment on this video to request your free copy today. That's iotathegame@gmail.com. Limited free copies available. Offer expires Monday, March 23rd. Well, thank you to our special guests on the SpartanCast, Cortland head coach and NYCBL Commissioner Joe Brown, Cortland assistant coach and Spartans head coach Matt Michalski, and current Union College baseball player and former Syracuse Spartan and returning Spartan Jackson Geisler for joining us on the SpartanCast. I'm also now quickly joined at the end here by Spartans president JJ Petrikis. JJ, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, just want to ask, like I asked all three before, how are you? How are you doing? Is everyone in your family and all your friends okay and healthy?
At the moment, yes, and we're healthy and well. And my daughter was born about a month ago, and she is healthy and well. And Nadia Lynn Petrikis was born February 13th, so she's now just over a month old, and absolutely. The love of my life right now and my whole family's life. They love coming over to see her, and everyone's trying to stay healthy so that they can spend time with the baby, and I'm doing the same. Recently as well, we just had the state of New York actually mandated the closure of all gyms. So as you might know, I run 3 Blink Fitness franchises in upstate New York as well too. So recently we had to close our doors, but we are putting in a contingency plan for making sure we're doing some extra cleaning so that we're ready to go when it's time to reopen, and trying to get some people remotely working out, sharing some exercises with them across all platforms. And as you and I worked on here, being able to bring a podcast to people about the impacts of this across all platforms, including sports, and how this is impacting people. I think that this is a good platform to share it on. And I just appreciate, having the ability to do that with you. You've always been just incredible. I put on our Instagram feed, you're the Spartan legend, but you were the voice of the Spartans for so long, and really excited to have you hosting this podcast here.
Well, thank you, JJ. First of all, congratulations on behalf of all of our listeners here on the SpartanCast. Congratulations on the birth of your daughter, and hopefully everyone else is staying safe, to those who are listening, and staying healthy. But I kind of want to get your initial reaction just really quickly about what your initial reaction was and when you first found out that, this is a bigger situation than any of us thought with the whole coronavirus situation. When did you first find out that this is a lot more serious?
I'll tell you honestly. I think the with most of us in the sporting world, Thursday was Thursday. I can't even remember the date of that now. I think it was the 13th.
No, it was the 12th.
Thursday the 12th was the day that we woke up to the news that the NBA was suspending their season. Shortly after, the NHL followed. suit MLB with spring training, and then eventually pushback of the start of their season. And then we were all waiting for NCAA. Being in collegiate baseball here, we're all waiting to see what the NCAA is going to do and what they're going to say. And when that news came down, it was like someone had just like torn a hole in my stomach. I didn't know what to do. I know a lot of us are just huge sports fans, and we come home at the end of a long work day and we check the score of the game, or we check in with our favorite team. Us recently, we've been just trying to wrap our heads around the beginning of the college, just a fresh young beginning of a college baseball season that had been going on for 2.5 weeks, and just getting pumped to start seeing it. I'm on the floor all the time at the gym, and I'm walking down Blink Fitness Liverpool and looking at SEC college baseball on the TV screen and getting really pumped that it's that time of year. And then that just felt like it just got ripped away from me. And following along with those news stories, that's when it sort of hit me how huge this was. Us in the fitness space, we were working very, very hard to try and make sure we're keeping our facilities clean for our members and making them feel comfortable and safe. So we ramped up our cleaning procedures about a week and a half prior. And I tried very much to just project calmness to our employees and our members and let everybody know we're taking all the measures that we need to. And then, Thursday hit, and everyone who's a sports fan just felt it to their core. And we started to realize how much bigger the situation was going to get.
Yeah, and for full disclosure for all our listeners, we're recording on Tuesday the 17th. And as of right now, we don't know when in the future any decisions might be made. But as of right now, the NYCBA has come out and said that they do plan to start the season on June 1st, like nothing ever happened. But obviously, we are in a very weird situation. So what are the plans that you have right now for the Spartans in terms of handling the start of a season in which really it's going to be a return to athletics and a large gathering for many people?
This is I'm glad you asked that. And from a context standpoint, today's the 17th, it's St. Patrick's Day. The interview with Coach Michalski, myself, and Jackson on today, and you'll be hearing from Coach Brown tomorrow. But on Sunday, we had a conference call. Sunday the 15th, we had a conference call with our Sunday the 14th, we had a conference call with our NY. It was the 15th.
It was the 15th, yes.
Yeah, they're blending together right now. We had a conference call with the NYCBL, and just talking to all the franchises about different concerns that they had in their markets, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page with, are they going to be able to use their facilities? Are they getting phone calls from players who can or can't come? Obviously, restriction of travel ends up being a concern, and I think the approach that we have taken is a proactive one, to say that we are going to be ready for June 1st, because you always have to sort of plan in these things. We're 3 months out in terms of planning and budgeting and orders, and there's orders that we place that with uniform vendors or hat vendors or baseballs that with international shipping, and you're trying to make sure you have everything ordered in advance and you're ready to go when the season comes. And some of the orders take 12 weeks to come in, and some of them are coming internationally, maybe even from China. So you have to prepare in advance with your orders and your vendors. So we have to act like we're ready to go on June 1st. I know that all of our other franchises are geared up in a similar fashion. The biggest thing here is that we are going to be checking in every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, this could be a completely different situation. And 2 weeks from then, it could be a completely different situation. So we look to have some additional insights and answers by April 1st. And then again, some additional insights and answers around the April 15th timeframe as we sort of monitor the progression of this thing. But you still have to plan in advance to be ready for this. And our job is to, again, like I said, project calmness to the players, to their families, that we're going to make the right decision to make sure that we're keeping them safe. And if we see that this thing, continues to escalate, obviously the NYCBL will take the appropriate measures and follow suit. But at the moment right now, June 1st is queued up as what could be to use your words here, like a return to sports here, if things, if we're able to slow this down here a little bit and get over this as a nation, heal, it could be a return to sports. And these college kids, and this is what I'm excited about this podcast for. These college kids are feeling it right now. I remember on Thursday, and I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent here, but
it's okay. It's okay.
Last Thursday when the news broke, not only being impacted by seeing the news on your typical sports networks, your ESPNs and your Fox Sports and stuff like that, seeing that, but then the reaction on Twitter of players and coaches, and just seeing kids in tears and breaking down and huddling and chanting their team's name for the last time, on a season, and seniors feeling like their college summer or their college season was over and they weren't going to get another chance to play. And it broke my heart watching that happen. And that's one of the reasons I said it was gut wrenching for me, because it was hard to watch. And I know how badly these kids just want to get out there and play baseball. So I was encouraged that the NYCBL is saying that we're going to go ahead as planned on June 1st and, ready to play opening day. Because I think these kids are looking for a little bit of hope like that, hey, I might have a summer baseball season. I didn't get my college baseball season, but I'm going to get that, a summer baseball season. And we are hearing kids who are just like pumped to come in. So, my hope is that we take the appropriate measures and make the right decisions as a league here moving forward as this thing progresses. And my hope is that, like I said, we can get some healing as a nation here and be able to get cleared to play June 1st. And I would love nothing more than, opening day of the NYCBL season to be one of the first college baseball games that's played in 2 months. And it'll be quite the event, but we got a long way to go to get there. So
yeah, we definitely do. JJ, thank you so much for jumping in on the last part of this first episode of the SpartanCast. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just I want to thank the listeners out there. This is the first one that we're doing. Suggest some content that you'd like to hear. I know we're all itching to get our sports in. Myself included. So if, we want to reach out, not just to Spartan players and college coaches across the country, but we want to reach out to, other athletes that have been impacted and, really be able to share people's stories and let people start talking about this. There's a lot of people right now across the country that are hurting, and they're stuck indoors and they're not going to be able to get outside and play catch or, get outside and do what they love. And gyms have closed down, not get a chance to get out there and work out. So we're just trying to, provide content for you guys along the way to, get your sports itch out and give these kids that, want to talk about, talk baseball, talk sports, give them the outlet to do so. So give us your feedback. We want to hear it. Give us some suggestions for upcoming SpartanCast episodes, and we'd love to bring that to you. So thank you guys very much for listening to our first ever our SpartanCast. So and thank you, Christian.
Oh, thank you, JJ. Well, like JJ said, thank you all for listening to this first edition of the SpartanCast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you like what you listen to, leave a like on the video as well. And also follow the Spartans on Twitter at NYCBL_Spartans, on Instagram at Syracuse Spartans. I'm Christian De Guzman. Thank you all for listening and have a good day.